Part 5. Walking together again. The sky in Seoul is still heavy, and the daily life of the busy city is endless. Minsu and Jiyeon start their day as usual. Minsu prepares for work early in the morning, while Jiyeon busily moves around taking care of their daughter Soo-won's breakfast. Their days are always intense, with gratitude and apologies towards each other crossing paths within. But today is a different, slightly more special day. Morning, Minsu and Jiyeon's apartment. Jiyeon smiles as she prepares breakfast for Soo-won in the kitchen. Despite the fatigue showing on her face, her eyes looking at her daughter are warm. Minsu approaches her as he pours his morning coffee.
Can you spare some time for me tonight?
Minsu asks cautiously.
Why? What's going on?
Jiyeon asks curiously. After hesitating for a moment, Minsu continues.
I've been feeling sorry for a lot of things towards you. I want to spend some time alone with you today.
Jiyeon is slightly surprised by Minsu's proposal, but soon nods her head.
Sure, after dropping Soo-won off at the academy, we'll have some time.
Minsu wanted to mend his relationship with Jiyeon. He wanted to alleviate some of the pain Jiyeon had suffered due to issues with his in-laws. Despite the burdens of their dual-income household, Minsu prepared a small event for his wife. Evening, a small restaurant in Seoul. Minsu and Jiyeon go out alone after a long time. Minsu quietly welcomes Jiyeon at the restaurant he specially reserved. It is a small Italian restaurant they used to frequent early in their marriage.
It's been a while here. Remember? This was the place we first came to after getting married.
Minsu says with a smile.
Of course, I remember. We used to come here every week because the pasta was so delicious.
Jiyeon responds with a smile. In the quiet atmosphere of the restaurant, they reminisce about the time they first met, getting lost in memories. The tender feelings towards each other remained unchanged as time passed. Jiyeon feels a bit lighter in her heart with Minsu's small consideration. After the meal, Minsu and Jiyeon leaving the restaurant. As the two finish their meal and leave the restaurant, they gaze at the night view of Seoul. The night air was chilly, but their hearts were warm.
Let's have moments like this occasionally from now on, just the two of us.
Minsu suggests.
Okay, let's meet like this more often and talk.
Jiyeon replies with a smile. Minsu and Jiyeon conclude their day in comforting and encouraging each other. Their issues with the in-laws still linger, but they believe they can overcome any difficulty as long as they are together. Their marriage life has never been easy, but they are slowly moving forward with understanding and consideration for each other. There are no perfect couples in the world, but their efforts and love always shine through. Today, they continue to be a source of strength for each other.
Coming up next, a story explanation.
Okay, let's unpack this deep dive for you. We've got this really compelling personal story, source material shared across 5 parts. And today we're getting into the final chapter.
That's right. It's been quite a journey following this family.
It really has. Think of us as your guides, yeah? We're walking you through one family's experience over 16 years. We're really zeroing in on this couple, Minsu and Jiyeon. How they've navigated marriage, work demands, and, well, those tricky family dynamics.
Incredibly complex layers, as you said.
Exactly. And we followed their path through parts 1 to 4. If you've been listening, you know the huge challenge Jiyeon faced, especially with her in-laws, and the strain that put on her personally and also on her marriage with Minsu. Part 4, we saw her take a really significant step, a brave one.
A pivotal moment, really.
Absolutely. So now, the conclusion. What happens? What does this final part tell us about how they try to maybe move forward after all that? What insights can we pull from how their story wraps up in these sources?
Well, let's dive into the sources for part 5. It starts by setting the scene again, 16 years into the marriage.
Okay.
And it paints this picture, their daily routine, double-income couple, Seoul, raising their middle school daughter, Jiyeon, that familiar rhythm.
Right, the constant juggling act.
Yes, and the source describes this feeling. It's a mix. Gratitude for what they've built, through sheer hard work, but also this undertone of lingering regret, maybe, about the hard times they've faced.
Understandable. Maybe before we jump fully into part 5, could we quickly recap the trajectory, just the key beats from parts 1 to 4 for context?
Good idea.
Oh.
So, quick refresher based on the sources. Part 1 started back in 2007, Seoul. They got that 2-own apartment, partly with in-laws' help.
Right, that was the beginning.
16 years later, they're this established double-income family with Jiyeon, but the narrative really highlighted Jiyeon's huge effort, working while pregnant even when Min-soo was between jobs.
Building stability.
Building stability, yes, but alongside constant stress from the in-laws. The mother-in-law's criticism was a big feature comment about remote work, spending.
And the father-in-law's remarks too, right?
Yes, dismissive comments, all leading to fights with Min-soo. He did apologize, suggested avoiding visits, but Jiyeon felt, well, unseen, and determined to tackle the relationship issue.
Okay, so the core conflict established early on.
Exactly, part 2. The stress continued. There was that scene in the park, right? A moment of peace, shattered by a call from the mother-in-law.
I remember that.
Jiyeon shares it with Min-soo, and he says that key line, "Stop suffering, I'll handle it."
Which sounds good, but maybe wasn't the whole solution.
Well, she felt relief, but also anxiety. The source says she decided she needed to face it bravely, herself, for her family, trusting they could get through it together.
Like taking agency.
Then part 3. This part really showed the psychological toll on Jiyeon. Mentioned medication, Min-soo's growing sense of responsibility. Jiyeon skips a family gathering. Min-soo goes alone, sees the criticism firsthand, and feels deep regret for not getting it sooner.
That must have been eye-opening for her.
Seems so. He talks to his mom. "Mom, Jiyeon's struggling. Can we try to understand more?" His mom acknowledges it, promises to pay more attention, a small thing, but the source says it gave Jiyeon a bit of hope.
A glimmer. Okay. And that leads us to the big step in part 4.
Part 4, presented as really pivotal. Jiyeon is determined not to pass her struggles on to Jiwon. That's a key motivator. She decides to talk directly to her mother-in-law, tells Min-soo, and he backs her up. "I trust your decision."
Crucial support there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The source details the visit, Jiyeon's courageous talk explaining her hardship, her work, but also, importantly, acknowledging her mother-in-law's perspective.
Trying to bridge the gap.
And surprisingly, the mother-in-law understands, apologizes even. Jiyeon hopes for mutual understanding going forward. Tension eases. There's hope for healing. Afterwards, Min-soo's words are really affirming. "You did well. Because of you, I can live harder." A mutual recognition of their efforts. That spark of hope gets a little brighter.
Okay, that's a fantastic recap. It really sets the stage, showing the journey and that significant shift in part 4. So now, part 5, what happens next? How do they build on that moment?
Right. So part 5, as I mentioned, starts with another busy day. That constant backdrop of effort, gratitude mixed with, the underlying strain.
The new normal, perhaps?
Kind of. But then the narrative flags up what it calls a special day. Amidst everything, Min-soo initiates something. He asks Jiyeon for her time that evening.
Oh.
Yeah, and his reason, according to the source, is quite specific. He says he feels bad about many things.
Not just vague regret.
No, it feels quite pointed. He explicitly wants to spend time, just the two of them, to work on mending their relationship and ease her pain from the whole in-law situation.
Wow, that's intentional.
How
does Jiyeon react?
Surprised, the source says, but she agrees.
Feels bad about many things. That really lands, doesn't it? It connects his feeling directly to the impact on her.
It does. It suggests he's really reflected on the cumulative damage. And he follows through. He plans this small event, carved out of their hectic lives.
Okay, so what does he plan?
The setting is key here. He takes her to a small Italian restaurant they used to go to early in their marriage. The source hints it might have been their first date spot or somewhere very meaningful from that time.
Wow.
And it notes he specifically booked that place. Returning there after everything they've been through, it's loaded with significance.
That detail, booking that specific place, why do you think the source emphasizes that? Going back to the beginning, just their space. What's the message?
I think it's a really deliberate act of recentering. He's not just suggesting dinner, he's invoking their shared history, their origin story as a couple.
Before all the external stuff piled on.
Exactly. It's like saying, let's remember us. His focus right then is purely on their bond, reminding her, and maybe himself, of what they built together, just the two of them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what happens at the restaurant?
Well, their conversation naturally turns nostalgic. They remember their dating days, the pasta, how they wanted to come every week back then.
A simpler time.
Definitely. And the narrative emphasizes this feeling, this shared nostalgia. It uses that word aitan, which captures this deep, tender, maybe slightly wistful affection or longing. And it points out that those feelings, despite everything, haven't actually changed. And crucially, the source states Jiyeon feels a burden lift just from his thoughtfulness.
Just the act itself made a difference. That's powerful after so much conflict and hurt.
It really is. It shows the impact of that focused, considerate gesture. After the meal, they leave, look out at the Seoul night view, cold air, the source notes, but warm hearts. A nice contrast.
Yeah.
And then Min-soo makes a proposal for the future. He says, let's spend time just the two of us like this sometimes from now on.
Sometimes from now on. So it's not a one-off gesture. It's suggesting a new pattern.
Exactly. It's realistic they're busy, but it's a commitment to regularly prioritize them. It's an ongoing effort.
And Jiyeon.
She agrees. Okay, let's meet and talk often, even if it's just like this. An affirmation of that shared commitment.
Okay. So, pulling it all together from the sources, what's the main takeaway here at the end of Part 5?
What's really interesting is how the narrative concludes. The sources are clear. The in-law issues remain. They haven't magically disappeared.
Right, that feels realistic.
Very. But the focus shifts decisively back to the core relationship, Min-soo and Jiyeon. This evening isn't framed as the final solution, but as this quiet, intentional act of mending.
A repair job, almost.
You could say that. It's presented as proof of their mutual effort, their love, their commitment to supporting each other through it all. Their marriage, as we've seen, was tough. So many pressures, but they're shown moving forward. Not because problems vanish, but because they're choosing understanding, choosing consideration. Their efforts, individual and joint, are highlighted. They keep, empowering each other daily.
That whole arc. From the initial pressure, Jiyeon's brave move in Part 4, and now this deliberate reconnection from Min-soo in Part 5, it's quite a progression. So, thinking about our listener, what specific lessons can you take from this journey laid out in the sources?
Well, it's more than just relationships take work, isn't it? It shows how. It shows a sequence. Min-soo's early attempt at boundaries, maybe not perfect. Jiyeon's direct, courageous conversation. And then Min-soo's very specific, thoughtful act of returning to their foundation.
Right, it's the combination of steps.
Yes, how those steps together can build towards healing, even when the original problem, the in-law friction, is still there in the background.
And that small act of dinner wasn't just dinner. It was symbolic, returning to their origin to counter the external damage.
Precisely. It powerfully shows that when external forces strain a relationship, reaffirming the core bond is critical. It's not about achieving perfection. It's about that persistent choice to show up, understand, and empower each other.
So that wraps up our deep dive into this 5-part narrative. The story shared in these sources, tracking their journey. It really underscores something vital, doesn't it?
It does.
Despite challenges that might linger, their story shows the massive importance of mutual effort, real understanding, and finding those deliberate ways to reconnect. To support each other when life gets tough. Their commitment to each other, actively nurtured like we saw in Part 5, seems to be what lets them keep going.
Absolutely. And I think this story leaves us with a powerful thought. Navigating life's complexities isn't about reaching some perfect problem-free state. It's more about the persistent effort to understand, the courage to face things, and that consistent, maybe even daily choice to nurture the core relationship, to empower each other.
So the question for you, listening, might be, considering Min-soo and Jiyeon's path, how does that perspective resonate with your own challenges? Or how you strengthen the key relationships in your life?
A potent question indeed.
Definitely something to reflect on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you'll keep thinking about Min-soo and Jiyeon's story. And please join us next time when we'll dive into another fascinating piece of source material you've shared.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us keep making great content.